Next on the list. I'll add you to the list.
Thank you. Mr. Moderator, Richard McClone, Precinct 4. I would have to agree with our friends from the Chamber of Commerce. All you have to do is look around and look at the empty stores. Look at all the places that have gone out of business, all the people that used to employ people in this town. It starts and it doesn't stop. When you, now, I do agree with the first speaker. We do have a beautiful town, and there is a competition. And I believe that competition is something we have to fight for, and we want to bring these tourists to Falmouth, because it's not just the rooms. It's the restaurants. It's all our little shops downtown. It's the Island Queen. It's every place that these tourists spend money. And one thing he did mention is that, gee, I don't think it's going to make a difference on 2%. But the first thing a tourist sees when they go over the bridge is they get greeted with a 20-cent bridge tax on their every gallon of gasoline. So they're looking at all our gasoline prices and say, boy, everything's expensive around here. And then as they see our esteemed governor just jacked up the sales tax, so now they're saying, oh, gee, Massachusetts is pretty expensive. Now we're paying the highest sales tax in the Northeast region. And then we go and we'll go on and find that these people are just getting inundated with more taxes. And they may not catch it the first time. They may not ask, what is your room tax? But when they're spending $200, $250 a night for these hotel rooms or whatever it is, and then they look at the tax on the end of it, and they say, look at the tax we paid. We paid $100 in sales tax for a few nights, a room tax. We may not catch them the first time, but next year when they're planning their vacation, they're going to say, remember what we paid over in Falmouth? Let's look at Yarmouth. Let's look at Hyannis. Let's look down Cape. Let's go to New Hampshire. They're real friendly. So, I mean, I think that if we want to shoot ourselves in the foot for 2% on the sales tax and hurt all the other businesses connected with these hotels, you know, you can go for it. But for me and mine, we're going to vote against this one. Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Putnam? Who's on a microphone? Okay. Mr. Putnam?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Brent Putnam, Precinct 9. Mr. Schmidt made a very eloquent argument, but I'm going to argue against increasing the taxes at this time, and very briefly. We've seen the numbers, we've heard the issues. The reality, and I'd like to recognize Ms. Tobey for saying something about the out-of-state travel, because there's fat in the budget, ladies and gentlemen, and you don't go on a diet by eating more. If we are going to follow the advice that the FinCom gave us tonight, the advice that the other alternative is to increase taxes and proceed with the status quo, we're not going to be able to make a change to the status quo if we continue to look at increasing revenues. I agree with Mr. Zavala, it needs to be a last resort. But in the meantime, we're not going to cut things like the out-of-state travel unless we are forced to do so. Increasing revenues takes that off the table, and it makes it so much easier to leave the sacred cows in the budget. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Patrick, Representative Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Matthew Patrick, Precinct 7. I am not speaking for or against this amendment, but I do want to inform the town meeting members that there is a bill moving through the House that was filed by Cleon Turner that would fix the inequities in the current room tax formula to include some of the rooms that are not taxed now. And it has a good chance of moving and becoming law. Representative Madden informed me that it may become part of the municipal relief package.
Okay, Ms. Davis was next on my list. And then we're going to come down front.
Linda Davis, Precinct 4. Mr. Moderator, I am opposed to this article, certainly for many of the reasons that have been previously mentioned, but most of all, because it appears to be a quick fix for some fundamental problems that we have in the way this town does its business. And I would like to respond to Mr. Anderson, if I may. I listened very intently to what Mr. Anderson said, and he summed up in his presentation a request from us, the people of Falmouth and town meeting members, to convey to our selectmen the urgency in investigating and redeveloping the way we do business, that we need to make some fundamental structural changes so that we don't come to town meeting every year with some quick fix for a problem. He mentioned the need to look at our hiring practices, the way in which we fix and forecast our budget, our fixed salaries, our benefit and structural issues, and most of all, how we implement performance management program. So I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to take his advice, and I'm going to say to the selectmen as a group and as individuals, Mr. Mustafa, Mr. Carey, Mr. Putnam, Miss would you please begin to develop the process, work with our managers on restructuring our financial component of our town, of working towards making these structural changes so that come spring, you could report to us on the improvements and changes you are making. Because this is fundamental. We are facing bad times. We cannot just put a Band-Aid on what is happening. We need to look closely at how we do business. Thank you.
Okay, down here on the. And then this one.
Excuse me, I just have to finish. And in case I know how busy the selectmen are. But in case they need a reminder about how important this issue is and how they need to look at it and begin to work with the manager and set a program and a schedule of meetings and so forth, ask yourself this question. When there is an item on the selectmen's agenda that deals with weddings and dogs, ask yourself, is there something more important I can do for my town? Thank you.
All right, let's, I got a list here of speakers on this article. Let's go. Folks, this is not a selectmen's meeting, this is town meeting. So let's focus on this. I think the selectmen hear the comments. More than welcome to go next Monday night, make some more. But let's focus on this issue right now. Article 3, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Milton Kelly, Precinct 3. And for the last almost 40 years, I have been the manager of Little Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging.
You're having
I
trouble
have
hearing
been,
you.
for almost 40 years, the manager of Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging on Acapesket Road. The 2% increase in the rooms tax is really a misnomer. It's really a 50% increase on the town share of it might be 2%, but it's 50% more than what has been paid in the past. And I beg to differ with many of the speakers that have spoken before. Obviously, they have not had to negotiate contracts with bus groups, small groups that come, because 2% is a lot to these groups. I tried, we have a small contract with Virgin Airlines to bring people over. They stay with us for a few days at a time. I tried to go up $2 on my room rate last year with them. It didn't happen. They would go someplace else. We are not a big place. It's basically my wife, my son, and I, and one person in the office in the summertime. I get the phone calls. I get the people that say, your tax is what? We're talking right now 9.7%. If we implement this, it's going to be up to 11.7%. We're getting up there into the city range of taxes on rooms. The other thing is, the first speaker answered his own question. He said he couldn't understand why he was going for this tax. Well, he answered it himself. It's because he's not paying it. It was an obvious answer. He mentioned trash to haul away. I don't know of a hotel or motel in Falmouth that doesn't have a dumpster and pays for their own trash to be hauled away. Take very little of those services. And the other thing is, right now, a number of us have contracts that have been negotiated already and include the 9.7% tax. It'd be very, very difficult for us at this time to change that contract. Little places like myself will end up, at least until next year, eating this 2% ourselves. It's not easy. It has not been an easy year. And I would implore you to vote down this amendment and go with indefinite postponement. At least give us a warning. Next month would be very hard to implement putting this tax into place. Thank you very much.
Okay. Ms. Flynn? Ms. Flynn? I've got two more on my list. Ms. Flynn?
Thank you. Pat Flynn, Precinct 5, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I'll be very brief. I want you to know that we appreciate very much the comments you have made tonight. I hope you noticed that the Board of Selectmen did not recommend this article. And the reason for that was we were concentrating all of our efforts on reducing spending. And while we appreciate the legislature giving us the opportunity to do this, in the present situation at this time, we saw it as sort of one shot across the bow and not really sufficient to deal with the structural problems we have with our revenue, as has been so eloquently stated tonight. So as we move forward into the budget process for 2011, we are not only going to be looking at reducing spending, but we are going to be looking at the revenues and what that is going to mean to us not only in 2011, but beyond. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Okay, my last speaker on the list was Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Kerry Murphy, Precinct 7, member of the Board of Selectmen. And I am speaking for myself, and I just want to respond to Ms. Davis and Mr. Anderson that, yes, we will pick up that challenge and make this government efficient and more effective. But I would ask some of the people in this audience and people watching tonight to join us, and that's members of the school committee, and that's members of the police department and the fire department, parents who have children in the schools, legislative delegation both on the House and Senate side. This is a difficult way to construct a budget to respond to some of these things that we are faced with today, and the delivery of services. We can cut some services, we can cut some payroll, we can cut people from positions, but there are consequences to that, and I think that people really need to look and think very hard before we do that. I'm not saying that we can't do that, but I think that there are consequences to that. I think there's some advantages and some efficiencies to look at regionalization. It's a cry that's been statewide. It's something that in the county that we've looked at, but it needs to come to fruition here in Falmouth. Privatization. When we talked about the waste transfer station, please don't yell at me, but we're not going to change it, Joe. Don't jump up and put your hand up. But I think there are some advantages and there are some disadvantages to privatization, but I think this town, the Finance Committee and the administration really need to take a hard look at it. I think on this issue of taxes and the short-term rental tax and taxes to the hotel, I think it's more symbolic in a way, because when you go to the gas pump, you see an increase in the price, you see an increase in the taxes. The people that sit at their homes, at their dining room table, and have to write those checks for all of the taxes and all of the things that go on, I think that it's more symbolic that we do not raise this tax at this point, and that we make efficiencies in our government. But I would ask everyone in this room to join us. I would ask all of the department heads to join us, which they have done and sacrificed. We're in this together. It's just not challenging the members of the Board of Selectmen to tell the administration to make the efficient cuts. We are in a financial meltdown of the consequences that we haven't seen in quite a while. Unemployment, quite frankly, hasn't peaked yet. We have jobs leaving. We have people leaving the state in record numbers. There is a fundamental way that we need to structure state government, federal government, and more importantly, the government that we have here. So I would ask everybody to join us when we do this. All members of the Board of Selectmen will rise to this challenge. The administration will rise to this challenge. The Finance Committee members will rise to this challenge. And I say, let's have a new day in Falmouth, and let's really take an opportunity to take a look at how government is run in the town of Falmouth. Thank you.
Okay. Is it something new, Mr. Garcia? And then we're going to vote on this. Microphone for Mr. Garcia. And then we're going to take a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ron Garcia, Precinct 7. I'm standing to speak against the amendment on this article. On the surface, it sounds insignificant to increase the taxes by 2%. Looking at it a different way, it's really a 20% increase. However, the issue I really want to make is we're forgetting the owners of the hotels, motels, the B&Bs. Those are the folks that are going to be impacted. We can say it's only tourists, but quite frankly, it's the owners of the property that will feel the brunt of this. And keep in mind, these are the folks that are paying taxes, some significant taxes that go to the town of Falmouth. So again, I would urge you to vote against the amendment that has been made. Thank you.
Okay. This is the main motion. This is the main motion, Article 3, to increase the local room occupancy excise to a rate of 6%. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. It's the opinion of the chair is that the noes have it by a majority. Article 4. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to adjust the fiscal year 2010 operating budget to amend the appropriations voted in Article 18 at the April 2009 annual town meeting. Do we need to do it? Need a break? No? Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to reduce the fiscal year 2010 operating budget from the previously approved total of $107,569,142 to $105,252,015 by amending the budget line items as follows. And I would ask that we incorporate into the motion by reference the last column on the right-hand side of the green budget handout, pages 1 through 7. And to reduce the amount voted by the town to raise and appropriate at the April 6, 2009 annual town meeting from $103,715,184 to $101,455,057. Reduce the appropriation of $57,000 from the Mass Technical Collaborative Wind Grant to $0, and further, to reduce the total amount budgeted by $2,000,000 $317,127 for an amended fiscal year 2010 operating budget of $105,252,015.
Okay. So the main motion is what you have on the first page of the green packet. What we'll do is we'll do this like we do the regular annual budget. We'll go through the reductions here, which is the second to last column. The last column would be the total, the new total. So the reductions would be the second to the last column, the recommendation of the Finance Committee under fiscal year 10. Do you want to make general statements or anything? Okay. So let's start off with the first department, town meeting. Town moderator. Selectman administrator. No, there's no hold. We're just going to go as we do with the annual budget. So just, Mr. Netto. We do holds on a blanket vote.
Joe Netto, Precinct 9. A little confused at the procedure. I'm sorry. I thought
Okay.
we're going to take these by departments then.
Yep.
Okay. All right, ladies, and I think after the last discussion, I think it's time that now we have to start doing what we've all agreed to, the rhetoric that we've heard all night, and that was very easy. Now it's fish or cut bait. I'm going to hold the out-of-state travel, which would be line 16 of this budget. Here's where it gets confusing, because what's left there, we don't know. But if you would give me some latitude, Mr. Moderator, because to do this effectively, I think we have to look at just not one line item, but the budget. I would be holding, if that's permissible, I would be holding every out-of-state travel of the 4 departments of DPW, fire, police, and the town manager. Not because I look at that as a frill. No, it isn't. This is an educational experience. These department heads go to these meetings, and there's information that's obviously learned. I did spend 37 years as a public school teacher. It'd be hypocritical for me to get up here and speak negatively about education. But the point is, now we have to start judging. What is only $1 on the table, and many people want it. And case in point, go to line 128 of natural resources, because I want to give you an example of how you have to make decisions now. 128 under the natural resources is a reduction of $3,000 for the propagation of shellfish. And I would rather see that removed. And that money's made up, because we're not going to take monies off without finding a source to make them up. And my argument is this: the propagation of shellfish, folks, I'm sorry, puts food on the taxpayers' tables of the people of Falmouth. These are the decisions that we have now got to ask in each and every one of us. I'm sorry, I'm not being sarcastic, I'm not being philosophical. I will quote the late George Souza, a personal friend of mine, who's a shellfish warden, who told me years ago, and these are old figures: Joe, for every $1 that I spend propagating shellfish, reaps $20. It was a 20-to-1. You'd run to Mohegan Sun the next day with those odds. And in memory of him, I'll get up here and defend the propagation of shellfish. I've even seen our selectman, Mr. Murphy, down there raking quahogs at Harrington Street. So you too would enjoy this, sir. Well, that's the decisions that we have to make. I will not support any out-of-state travel. You will hear all kinds of arguments. by speakers from the stage, contractual, the town benefits. Yes, I will agree with all of those. But I will ask you to make that decision to weigh, I will cut whatever that figure is, because also, we obviously know money's been spent from this line item. I don't know if there's been any money spent from DPW, police or fire. But it's time that we now stop following Mr. Anderson's rhetoric and start doing the job that the people of our precincts in the town of Falmouth elected us for. And this is one that I've got personal feedback by many people. And I'm sorry, I cannot support this. That's my motion. It would be to remove the total figure of out-of-state travel from those budgets that have it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, discussion on removing the line items of out-of-state travel. Mr. Neto, you had a question?
And obviously, those funds would remove and reinstate, I think that's the correct word, and any funds from these cuts to reinstate the $3,000 in line 128 for the propagation of shellfish.
Well, let's vote on the reduction, and if we get the reduction, then we can do the appropriate increase, and Jill's going to sharpen her pencil for this one. Okay, discussion on reducing out-of-state travel line items. I'm going to take this as one discussion and one vote versus going and finding each one. The Finance Committee will find all those numbers and add them up. Mr. Latimer, and then Mr. Anderson.
Rich Latimer, Precinct 2. I agree with Joe Netto on this one. I think a question, though, that we should be asking on all of these travel items is how directly it is going to be related to actually improving the ability of the public employee to deliver the public service. And I'm talking about directly. I'm not talking about, oh, this is going to be good for the resume, or it's going to, you know, give some general background knowledge. I could see maybe firemen and policemen going to some kind of training program where what they will learn will directly affect their ability to serve us. But just simply going to have some academic discussion about municipal management, I'm not sure really does us any good as a town as opposed to being simply a resume builder. I will say this, that a lot of that kind of stuff, I see this now, I do it myself as a lawyer. Instead of going to a seminar someplace, we do it online. We do these seminars online. We sit in our own office. We have the telephone and the computer, and we get that kind of knowledge online without spending a lot of airfare and other travel expense. So I think that the critical question here is how much of any of one of these is directly related to providing a service to this town that's immediate. And I think that's a fair question to ask of all of these items.
Okay, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Stumpke, you're on the list.
Mr. Neto touched on two very important points, one of which is that some of the out-of-state travel may be contractual. And I don't know if Chief Riello or Chief Broder are aware, or perhaps Mr. Rittenauer can help us out there, but some of it may be contractual, which we may not then be able to unilaterally modify. Secondly, the information that we have, unfortunately, we do not have a real-time system. So there may be some bills that have been submitted for travel that haven't been entered into the system or in the current or in the process. And so to know what the precise number is this evening is very difficult, if not impossible. I would just caution town meeting to give consideration to those items. Thank you.
Okay, anybody want to address Mr. Whitnar?
What I would recommend is that you go department by department, and if there's a line, let's talk about that line and ask the question, and then if you want to make the decrease, it should be based on I know the town accountant's here and, the department heads, we need to make sure that there are adequate sums that are remaining in those accounts that can be reduced. And I think what I'd like to recommend is that you start, we were on the Selectman Administrator, line item 16. The original approved budget was $8,100, and there's a recommended reduction of $2,000. Now, I know that there are outstanding bills on that account of approximately $2,500, which would leave a total amount left in that account of $5,600, which is $3,600 above the cut. So you could, if you wanted on that one, you just take action independently. You could reduce that an additional $3,600, and take them one at a time. And then if there's amounts in it and you want to cut it, then let's address it and cut it.
Okay, so let's look at whether or not we want to reduce Selectman Manager line item 16, out-of-state travel, reduced by $5,600. All those in favor of that reduction signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. All those in favor signify by standing, and the teller's a return account. This is to reduce line item 16 by $5,600. Should I stop it and do it? Okay, hold up, folks. I'm getting some legal advice that they don't like the way I'm doing this. So everybody come on back down. Sit down for a second. Mr. Neto, your motion, as we submitted it to the record, was to reduce all of the out-of-state travel as a group. Would you withdraw that amendment and submit an amendment to the floor to reduce that line item by $5,600 so that the record is accurate?
Yes, I would, sir. And I thank you, Mr. Rittenauer, for that fiscal attitude. Thank you very much. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, so the new motion on the floor by Mr. Neto is to reduce line item 16 by $5,600. All those in favor of the reduction signify by standing, and the teller's a return account. In the first division, Mrs. Taschereau, 29. In the second division, Mr. Dufresne, 42. In the third division, Mr. Hampson, 43. All those opposed to the reduction signify by standing, and the tellers will return the count. Mr. Hampson in the third division, 14. Mrs. Taschereau in the first division, 19. Mr. Dufresne in the second division, 41. By a counted vote of 114 in favor and 74 opposed, we'll reduce line 16 by $5,600. Yep. Mr. Murphy with the microphone, please.
Matthew Murphy, Precinct 7. I'm not really sure what's going on. We haven't finished debating. It seems we're going to make the cuts and then debate them. I'm not sure where we are in this process.
We are on the Selectman Manager's line item budget. We had a motion and some discussion and decided to use the smaller number rather than wiping them all at the same time so that we could get the explanation line item by line item.
Finish the discussion on why we want to do this?
I don't know. No one had their hand up and...
Oh, I'm sorry, I did. I maybe didn't see me.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Matt.
Damn.
Wave next time. Any further discussion on Selectman Manager? Ms. Siegel.
I have a question about line 14, Chamber of Commerce. And it's not that I have an in for the Chamber of Commerce. However, there is no reduction made in that item. It's not even a town department, so I'm curious as to what that $14,000 is for. And given the reductions in all the other very important town departments, why was there absolutely no similar percentage reduction made in the Chamber of Commerce? Through you, Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Ritenour.
The $14,000 is an annual sum that goes to the Chamber for assistance with tourism in publishing the Falmouth tourism book, and those funds have been expended. Those are paid out at the beginning of the fiscal year, so there's no money left in that appropriation.
Mr. Johnson.
Leonard Johnson, Precinct 5. In relation to line item number 9, I have a general question. In some of the budgets for the police department and the school department, there is a reduction in the salary line. There is not here, and I'm not suggesting anything, but I'd like to know what the procedure is, why there are reductions in salaries in some lines for some departments and not in others. It seemed to me it ought to be across the board.
Mr. Chairman.
In certain of the departments, for example, the police department and I believe the fire department, there were a couple of positions that were unfilled, and so those salaries were reduced from those particular budgets. That was the reason you would see that in certain line items.
Okay. Further discussion on Selectman Administrator. Ms. Murphy.
Carol Murphy, Precinct 9. I just have a question on the salary and wages. Given the fact, again, that the school department has taken a cut with encouraging the FEA to take a pay cut in the furloughs, I would think that the administrator and the town administrator and the assistant administrator could lead the way by taking an effort and taking a salary cut themselves.
Okay. Further discussion on Selectman Administrator. Okay. Finance Committee. Finance Committee Reserve Fund. Town Accountant. The Assessing Department. Town Treasurer.
Mr. Moderator, Richard Goulart, Precinct 9. I just have a quick comment, and I believe this goes back to what someone said earlier about us having this information a little earlier. We're looking at this budget line item by line item, and almost every department, I see something that says other expenses. It might just as well say miscellaneous, the way we're looking at it on this report. I know you can't do anything about it tonight, but when I look at the town treasurer's office, I'll look at $179,000 in salary and wages and other expenses of $196,000. I think we need a better explanation in the future of what other expenses may be. I mean, it seems like it entails quite a bit.
No, I understand that. I started a practice, you may remember, in April, meeting with the Finance Committee leading up to the April town meeting, that the budget in its entirety from our accounting system that they use to prepare the budget be posted on the website. The document is hundreds of pages. And it is available. This actual budget is still up. I checked this week. It's still up there from this April's town meeting. As we come into the next April round for an annual budgeting, you will get a budget in your warrant booklet equivalent to this, and then the entire budget with the breakdown will be listed again on the website. That seems to be the only way we can go. We can't produce that amount of paper and mail it. I know not everyone has access to computers or have the internet at home. For those of you that don't, I would urge that you go to the Falmouth Public Library. the reference department. They're really great over there, or any of the satellite libraries, and they'll be able to get you online, show you where that is, and open up the file for you so that you can review it in more detail if you don't have internet access at home. But that's a practice that we began for this April meeting. So this budget, the details of the original budget are on there. The reductions are up for question tonight. Okay. Yep, Mr. Donahue. With the microphone, please, Mr. Donahue.
Mr. Moderator, in these other expenses all the way down the line, is travel part of other expenses and we just don't see it? Or other, you know?
Some of them include travel that's not considered out-of-state travel.
Okay.
You'll notice that the out-of-state travel is a separate pull-out in a separate budget category for each department.
So theoretically here in town treasurer, other expenses, there could be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in interstate travel expenses that we just aren't aware of.
We'll see what's in that line item.
I'm asking this kind of rhetorically because if we go through every other expense, we'll be here until next Thursday, I think.
Exactly, and that's why the Finance Committee meets every week by a group that you all endorse after I make the appointments, so that they can spend hour after hour, week after week, month after month to go through those hundreds of pages, and then to prepare its summary form for you with access to the details of all of the work they have done. So that's correct. That's why we do not go through every single individual line item or a line in the budget. We go through these line item categories as the legislative body. If we feel the Finance Committee is not doing their job, then let me know that, so when I'm making my appointments, we can do something about it. But I think they're doing a good job.
Okay, I'm just trying to be fair to the committees that do have out-of-state travel, and if there's a group town department that has interstate travel, and that's a large sum of money, I would like the Finance Committee chairman to say, in that department, we have,
Okay, we have an answer for you. We've got
there's a large, well, I think could we do it just as we go down the line, and I don't.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
There are 4 departments that have out-of-state travel in them: police, fire, DPW, and the selectmen. The selectmen, all of the out-of-state travel from all of the other departments was consolidated into the selectmen administration budget so that Mr. Rittenauer could evaluate it, look at it, and approve it. So there are only 4 departments that have out-of-state travel, and you will find those noted on the green sheets. They are an asterisk line item.
But we're talking about interstate travel, local, within the state, intrastate travel. Yes, let's do it. I want you to have the actual number. This is transparency. We've got the number. We're going to give you the number.
My apologies. I thought you were talking about interstate travel. If you were talking about intra-state travel within the state, the budgeted number is $26,415, and that is embedded in the various line items of other expense in the departments.
So that's the sum total of intra-state travel in this budget. For all of the departments, the intrastate is $26,000 and the change. Mr. Antonucci?
Bobby Antonucci, Precinct 6. This is probably the most frustrating experience I've had, except being on the high school building committee. But this is unusual this year because of the economy and the state funding. And I know we're arguing about insignificant amounts tonight, but they are significant to a lot of people. The out-of-state travel is always listed separately. It's been like that for the last 30 or 40 years. Travel within the state is necessary. We have some departments that have to travel for licensing requirements. We pay for that. So I think we have to rely on the Finance Committee and the Selectmen and their recommendations for this mid-year budget analysis and approval. So I would hope that as we go through the budget, we trust the Finance Committee's recommendations and we move forward. If this was the April meeting, we could debate every line item and discuss it. Well, we're already 3 months into the fiscal year, and I think the cuts that they've proposed will get us through next June. We all have special interests. We all have concerns about the budget. It's a real tough time. But I think we will be here to midnight unless we move this along and rely on the work that they've done, because you've really done a good job.
Mr. Dufresne?
Adrian Dufresne speaking as a member of the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee approved, along with the various department heads, that these cuts, at least the questions of the 6 or 7 departments that I review, the cuts that were made were agreed to by, quote, that particular department. And our objective here tonight is to pass this so that we can set a tax rate and move on, get the tax bills out. If we have to go through all of this, that means that the members of the Finance Committee sitting here in front of me have spent not only hours, but time off on days, going into town and talking with the various department heads and saying, is this in any way going to hamper or detract from your services that you perform in your department? I urge you to take the Finance Committee's recommendations on the overall cuts that were agreed to by both the administrator, the Board of Selectmen, and the members of the Finance Committee, and some of us very reluctantly agreed to these cuts. I personally voted several times, with exception, that next year, granted, I will not vote for these kinds of cuts unless we get a better explanation from the management sitting behind me. I urge you to move on with this article, make the inquiries that you feel are strong enough to be substantiated, but let's move on with this article and let's get this article passed so that we can get the tax rate set and the tax bills out. Thank you for listening to me, and hopefully we'll do our job as town meeting members and move on.
The next section is Town Collector. Legal Department. Ms. Putnam, microphone out here on the left.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. Rebecca Putnam, Precinct 9. I just have a question on special counsel for $50,000. I noticed the 2 crosses next to that, and I looked up what that means on the back of the page, and that means special projects. I'm curious as to what those special projects are through you, Mr. Moderator.
The designation of special counsel as a special project. Whoever wants to answer it, I don't really care.
This is the budget that's used to pay for Labor Council and Cable TV Council, neither of which our office handles. There are no other special projects right now that would be using this budget. For example, the school budget is taken care of by the school. The wastewater treatment plant, there's a special budget for that. It's not here. It's Labor Council and Cable TV. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much for the explanation.
Okay, Personnel Office. Yep, Ms. Murphy.
Carol Murphy, Precinct 9. I have a question under the Personnel Office, and it falls under other expenses. And I have a detail sheet that communication, it says advertising vacancy. Vacancy for what? On a detail sheet, detail budget request sheet for the town of Falmouth. Can anybody answer that? It's for, the request was for $8,000, and I don't understand what that's for if we're sort of in a hiring moratorium.
Can you refer to the line item number if you have it right there?
It is, it's on page 8, and it's down number 52343.
All right. Someone from the personnel office want to answer this? Or Mr. Whitnar?
The advertising for vacancies, we still, I mean, you cannot have a complete 100% moratorium on all hiring. There are positions that have to be filled, and they have to be advertised. There's a fair and open system for all of these municipal jobs, and we have to have funds in there for advertising for vacancies. They're all publicly advertised and open.
I understand that, but there's $8,000 dedicated to that out of the other expenses, out of $28,872. There are $8,000 dedicated to that?
That's correct, and it could be a much higher number as well. The personnel department, I think, does a great job in holding the advertising costs down, but these are all public jobs, and we have to advertise them.
I don't understand. What jobs are being advertised for at the tune of $8,000 per year?
Well, again, this is a budget, so
Yes,
this is a
it is a
projection
budget,
that
yes.
if positions open that
Yes.
are mandatory that we post.
Yes, I
that
understand,
we would
Mr.
pull from
Moderator,
that.
but I just wanted to know, what's an average cost of advertising for a position at $8,000 per year?
Is our personnel director here?
Personnel director here? What are you paying for ads? The enterprise is here. What do you guys charge for an ad? Where's the personnel director?
Hi, could you repeat the question?
How much are you paying for advertising of open positions?
Approximately 8,000.
Per posting, I think, is what we're looking at.
I'm sorry, say that again.
When a position opens publicly and you have to go and advertise, about what does it cost you to advertise per position?
I would guess slightly, depending on the paper, depending on whether it's a Cape Cod Times, the Falmouth, whether it's a municipal association we belong to, hundreds, 500.
Okay, and you know, considering
Could you
how
just
many, I was
speak
just
up just a
wondering
bit?
how many jobs were vacant in '09 that needed almost, you know, $10,000 worth of advertising.
I don't have that number on exactly how many jobs in '09 were advertised, but it was, you'd be startled. It's a very large number. There are a lot of positions. They require advertising. When we have situations with a department head level position, you know, we need to recruit beyond just the town of Falmouth. There's costs with professional publications, and that, you know, that line item is always extremely tight.
I simply still don't understand why $8,000 out of 28 is
Okay,
needed.
all right. Do you have a recommendation to change the total number of other expenses? Line 49.
Yes,
By what amount?
$5,000, $21,872.
All right. So there's an amendment here to reduce line 49, other expenses of the personnel office, to reduce it by an additional $5,000. So the total reduction would be $7,000. It's an additional $5,000 reduction. Any discussion on the amendment to reduce an additional $5,000? If you can grab the mic over there, it'd be good. Mr. Lewis.
Gardner Lewis, Precinct 6. I swore I wouldn't get up, but here I are.
Yeah, just have
Speak
to
up.
lean in a little.
We can go through this line by line and change all the lines we want, but if you look at line 23, back on page 1, it's the reserve fund for the Finance Committee. When a department runs out of their advertising budget, they're going to come to us for a transfer. That's why we try and have intelligent numbers in the budget.
Okay, let's vote on the reduction of line 49. All those in favor of the reduction to line 49 signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. No. Kind of the chairs that the noes have it. Information technology. GIS. Affirmative action. Town clerk. Elections. Conservation Commission. Planning Department. Zoning Board of Appeals. Town Insurance. Facilities Maintenance. Police Department. Mr. Neto? Microphone for Mr. Neto.
Now we're into the dilemma of, because we have the money for the motion that I made, the $3,600 additional dollars, when we get to propagation of shellfish, obviously, we now have a balance of $600. Correct, Mr. Anderson, if my math is correct? If we needed 3,000, we got a surplus of 30, we got 36. So now we're 600 to the good. And I, folks, do not want to micromanage this budget. No, I think I'm representing the feeling of Main Street. That's correct. That's what we're talking about. And I'll cut right to the chase. That's exactly why we passed that. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I will again, and this will now come, and I'll let Mr. Anderson decide if we have a problem of too much money. And it'll be insignificant. I don't know what the total, 14,000. But I think if this is the police chief, I would like to hear from the police chief, obviously. We know that some other monies were spent. But again, to the Board of Selectmen and to these 4 department heads, people in the town of Falmouth and these people here are making tough decisions. I'm sure we're going to hear a great justification from the police, the fire, and the DPW. But again, remember why you supported the first one, and Chief Aiello, if you have any extra money to spare, the taxpayers of the town of Falmouth would be welcome for it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is there a specific question?
The specific question would come from, are there any monies left? I don't know who has the accounting. Does Mr.
So you want to know how much money has been expended out
Isn't
of that
that
line
what you told
already?
me we have to have a correct motion?
Okay. Yeah, I just need you to ask the
Okay,
question.
I'm sorry.
So you want to know how much was spent out of the out-of-state travel in the police department. Do we have that figure? Nothing. As of the 19th, nothing has been expended. Is that still accurate, Chief? Let's get a microphone for the Chief, please.
The bulk of that out-of-state travel account actually is used for supervisory command level training at Roger Williams University, and that's for our sergeants and captains. And we were able to cut that because we have a sergeant's position that we're not going to fill. They're required, that's tuition for the program, the 2-week in-house program at Roger Williams, and it's the only game in town. Is the one that's sanctioned and affiliated with the New England Chiefs Association. The same training up in Boston would cost us double. Roger Williams is about $2,100. Same up in Boston, it's about $4,500. We have committed one sergeant because we have a new sergeant that needs the 2-week training. No money has been expended at this time for that. And I'm not sure what we spent over the last couple of months, at Roger Williams. There's 2-day courses that we send folks to, and that's where the bulk of it goes. We also do our motorcycle officer training, and that's conducted in the state of New Hampshire, where we lease our motorcycles from. So any expense that's attributed to that training, and it's certainly not transportation because we let them use a department vehicle, but we do reimburse, obviously, gas expenses and training expenses and housing and lodging and food. And that all comes from that out-of-state travel.
Okay, Mr. Neto.
Mr. Moderator, I think then what the discussion is led us to is something maybe of semantics, and I think this came from the discussion of all these other expenses. We don't want a document in front of us, you know, that's 100 pages long. But if I may take this time, I think what we need to do is to maybe rename this expenditure of funds. And I think that that's what maybe some of my fellow town meeting members of, you know, some of this is descriptive and other line items aren't as descriptive. I will not make a motion for this police budget after hearing the chief make that explanation. And that's not a blanket, that's just, I think once what we see written in front of us and the explanation are a little different. Thank you.
Okay, other discussion on police department, Ms. Putnam? Yeah, I'll put you on the list, Richard.
Again, Rebecca Putnam, Precinct 9. Through you, Mr. Moderator, to the chief. I am wondering, because I think we had discussed earlier that we were not going to cut any monies that would affect safety in our community. I would like to know the reasoning behind cutting $25,000 towards drug investigation expenses, and if this is something that we do need in this community to keep that line or that monies in place.
Chief?
I couldn't agree with you more. And with all of the cuts that we had to make at the police department, the total of over $219,000 this second go around, I've not compromised safety. The reason we were able to look at that amount and zero it out is because we also have a forfeiture account, which is called the Law Enforcement Trust Account. It's not part of our operating budget. It's governed by federal regulations and state regulations, and it's a separate account that we have. And all forfeitures that we get from drug raids, be it cash or vehicles or that type of thing, that gets inserted into that account. And at this time, we have a balance in that account of close to $60,000. And we can use that for, to augment our drug investigations and anything related, you know, to that type of work. So I feel for this year that, you know, we have not compromised that. If we didn't have that money available, then I would not cut that. I wouldn't cut it a nickel, because quite frankly, we know that drugs are a major issue in this town, and we've probably served over 15 search warrants already this year. And one thing I have found that's different in Falmouth is that generally, we usually do end up with quite a bit of money from these forfeitures and these drug raids. It's a very lucrative business. It really is.
Right. Well, keep it up, Chief. We'll need some of that.
Yeah, maybe we could tax that if you want.
Mr. Anderson. Oh, Ms. Putnam, you still have comment?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I would like to make an adjustment, and I would like to appropriate that $5,600 that we cut from the administrative out-of-state travel and appropriate that towards drug investigation expenses.
Okay. This is taking the $5,600 that we just found in the other budget and inserting it to line item 103, drug investigation expense. All those in favor of the addition signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. No. It's the opinion of the chairs that the noes have it by a majority. Mr. Anderson, you're next on my list.
I wish to call attention to line item 100 in the police budget. One of the key issues that the Finance Committee deliberated for a considerable period amount of time was the Quinn bill issue within the police department. As you may know, part of the state aid cuts to Falmouth was the state's reimbursement of their portion of the Quinn bill. Both the town's portion and the state's portion, they're roughly 50-50, are included in the police department's budget. At the end of the fiscal year, the state normally reimburses the town for its 50% share. Since the state has cut that from their budget, there is no revenue offset for this expense. It was requested of the town manager to leave the state's portion of the Quinn bill incentive in the budget if the chief could find other cuts in his budget, which he did. The contract provision between the town and the unions which govern this educational incentive pay specifically states in part that, quote, in the event the Commonwealth defaults on its contribution or otherwise fails or refuses to pay in whole or in part, the town shall be responsible only for its half of the Quinn bill stipend. In such case, the June payment will be reduced or eliminated to reflect the shortage. The Finance Committee contacted the town managers in Sandwich and Mashpee and the Finance Committee in Bourne to see how they were handling the issue confronting about 2/3 of the communities in the Commonwealth which offer the Quinn bill incentive. Sandwich does not have a clearly stated provision in its contract like Falmouth does regarding the state's default on its portion. Because of this, the town manager said that Sandwich is likely to pay the state's portion. The town of Mashpee has roughly the same provision in its contract as Falmouth does regarding the state defaulting. They have opted not to pay the state's portion. The Mashpee Patrol Officers Union has sued the town to have them pay. The Mashpee town manager has said that she hopes the issue will be decided by December or January. Bourne is undecided what it will do, but the selectmen will be taking up the issue shortly. The Finance Committee invited Chief Riello and his command staff to attend our meeting last Tuesday, the 22nd. They answered the committee's questions fully and indicated that they had made cuts exceeding the $200,000 that were requested by the town manager, but left the Quinn bill portion intact. They stated that one of the two unions affected had signed a letter indicating that if the town were to pay the state's portion for fiscal year 10, they agreed that action would not be precedent-setting for the future. That was one of the concerns of the Finance Committee. After much deliberation, the Finance Committee decided to leave the state portion of the Quinn bill in the police department's budget for now. Our rationale was that the December payment is the town's portion, which is not in dispute. The state portion is not due to be paid until June 2010. Our sense was that we can deal with this issue at the special town meeting in April if necessary. The Mashpee lawsuit may be resolved by that time and may provide some helpful information. Also, other towns similarly situated may provide guidance. We suggest that the town manager and the Board of Selectmen and town meeting take no action on this issue until more information becomes available. Neither the town nor the eligible officers currently are affected in any negative fashion by this action.
Okay, Mr. Stumpke, and then Mr. Latimer. No, Mr. Stumpke? Okay, Mr. Latimer. Then Mr. Stetcher. Answered? Okay.
Thank you. Rich Latimer, Precinct 2. Chief Riello and Mr. Anderson have made two very important points that I just want to highlight, that questions like this aren't always that simple. As I suggested earlier, when we look at a question like this, yeah, sometimes you see out-of-state travel. That could be a junket, and we certainly don't want to be paying for people to go on junkets. But as Chief Riello said, he was talking about giving police officers the training that helps them do their job better, and that is certainly something we want to be encouraging. And as Mr. Anderson said, sometimes this issue is really determined by what already negotiated contracts require. So I think it's, when we see this, as Joe Netto suggested, maybe a little bit different kind of language other than just simply out-of-state travel. The average taxpayer looks at that and says, well, we're paying for some people to go to Las Vegas? I don't think so. But, you know, if it's something legitimate, maybe some words could be put in there to just make it a little clearer. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion on the police department? Fire department? Mr. Netto. I think he's going to ask you, Chief, what's in there, so let's give the Chief a mic.
And I'm sure he has the answer. Chief?
All right, can we have a mic for the Chief? What's your out-of-state travel entail?
Moderator. Town meeting members. The Falmouth Fire Department, for the last 13 years on their out-of-state travel, the chief stays in town where he belongs. In the future of the fire department, that's the people that are coming up in the ranks, have been afforded that opportunity to go for training out of state. That's the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. That's to Norfolk, Virginia for hazardous waste technician training. And it's also used by other people to go out of state to look at the New York State Fire Chiefs Convention in June, which saved us approximately $300,000 on our last two pumpers. So the town is recognizing, out of our out-of-state travel, I would say in guesstimation of about $400,000 to $500,000 a year. I cut $1,000 this year. I think I started with $3,000, and I'm down to $2,000. I think I have earmarked now about $1,400 for this fiscal year. I feel that the future of the fire department is the people coming up, because they're going to be using the equipment and they're going to be professional to carry this department on for the next 25 years to the next level of the next step of the future generation. I was asked to cut $200,000 out of this budget. I did. The next cuts, if I can't make it through 2010, because I'm riding a double-edged razor right now, is people that are working today will not be working at the end of 2010. Your neighbors, the people that work with me, members of my team, and they also pay mortgages, buy food in town, and bring their relatives to stay in the bed and breakfast in the hotels. So I think to nickel dime, I think the point to nickel dime $1,000 out of $3,000 is ridiculous when I gave you a 3.3% cut on 2010's budget. And I'm losing two people that it's taken this department 13 years to get 6. And I could conceivably lose those 6 before we step into 2011. I'm not afraid to say where this department's headed. I've been working on this budget and cuts since January. If anybody in here thinks the recession is over and Happy New Year by 2013, kick it up another 2014. And that's the end of calendar 2014. That's reality. This budget is a sound budget from the fire department. I don't know if you want to cut it anymore, but that's reality. Now the next question that comes up and nobody wants to answer is other expenses. The majority of my budget is salary and wages and collective bargaining agreement issues. The rest is maintaining 5 structures considered the fire department in this town. Equates to fuel oil, electricity, natural gas, office equipment maintenance, apparatus maintenance, fire alarm. We're one of 2 departments in this county that has a municipal fire alarm system. We've had a wire system in this town since 1903, and we went wireless in 1989. Also, apparatus testing, certifying all our apparatus and ground ladders annually for safety of the firefighters. Contractual services, elevator in the new station. Doesn't come out of facility maintenance, it comes out of contractual services. As an example, printing, telephone, postage, advertising, when we go out for bids and specs, what we don't use, we turn back to the general fund. 2009, we turned back $271,000 out of our budget to the general fund. If you want to know how much money we've been spending, I can tell you, call me up anytime. I got it in my head. Also, communication fire alarm, repair of our computers, paramedic program, is Cape and Islands EMS system, our share, town share, to the county. Office supplies, ambulance office supplies. Scuba equipment, we have a dive team. Ambulance medical equipment. Drugs are going up. Not only street drugs are going up, but regular drugs that are legal are going up, the ones we administer in the ambulance. Hose and appurtenance repair, mechanics supplies, housekeeping supplies, marine gasoline, diesel fuel, medical surgical supplies, clothing, which is a collective bargaining agreement, and fire supplies. That's what other expenses are. And if you look at the budget that we have for other expenses, I believe we're sitting on $501,000. Not bad for what we're running. So I think to get back to my out-of-state travel, I think we should leave it alone. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion on fire department, building department, emergency preparedness, natural resources, harbor master waterways. Mr. Neto.
I'm sorry, folks, but I think we have to put the money back in. Correct, Mr. Vieira?
Either that or I'm going to ask Mr. Whitnour for a recommendation to reduce revenue projection.
Okay, then I would like to amend line item 128 instead of $3,000 to be 0. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
You want it to be 0? Oh, the cut to be 0. Okay. Okay. So the amendment is to remove the 3,000 so that the cut becomes 0. Okay. 128. Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, Mrs. O'Gorman.
Grace O'Gorman, Precinct 4. I normally don't say anything, but you know, we're looking at what Mr. Anderson said. We have to stand firm, make cuts. Everybody's going to get hit. Now, we're taking money out of Peter's pocket and sticking it in Paul's pocket, and I think that's probably what the big problem is. People have their pet things they want to save. I love George Sousa too, you know, but why are we taking money away from certain places just to save somebody else over here? I believe this is what has happened for the last number of years. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion on the line 128. Mr. Latimer?
Rich Latimer, Precinct 2. This isn't taking money away from anybody. It's putting shellfish in the ground that you and I and everybody else in this town, if we get a license from the town, can go get those shellfish next year for $3,000. Like Joe Neto said, that will be like $60,000 worth of shellfish. That's an investment. Thank you.
Okay. Let's vote on this. This is to strike the reduction so that the budget for line item 128 would be $28,100. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. All those in favor signify by standing, and the tellers will return account. No. Whatever. No, we don't have to figure it out. We'll just cut the revenue projection by 600. In the first division, Mrs. Taschereau, 22. In the third division, Mr. Hampson, 21. In the second division, Mr. Dufresne, 28. All those opposed signify by standing, and the tellers return account. In the 3rd Division, Mr. Hampson. 30. In the 1st Division, Mrs. Taschereau. 23. And in the 2nd Division, Mr. Dufresne. 56. By a counted vote of 71 in favor and 109 opposed, the amendment does not pass. Any further discussion on natural resources? Harbor Master Waterways. The School Department. Mr. Johnson. Microphone to the right.
Leonard Johnson, Precinct 5. Returning to my previous question, I understand, I think from reading in the newspaper, that this actually does represent a furlough which involves a reduction in salary for members of the school department. Is that correct?
Mr. Dupuy, do you want to address that? Right behind you.
Hi, Mark Dupuy, Superintendent of Schools. That is correct. As was reported in the paper, we have a tentative agreement in place for all school department employees for a one-day furlough.
Okay. Further discussion on the school department? Upper Cape Vocational School. DPW Administration, Engineering. DPW Highway Division. DPW Snow and Ice Control. Street Lighting. Vehicle Gasoline. Waste Management Facility. Solid Waste Collection. DPW Wastewater Utilities. DPW Water Utilities. DPW Tree Warden. Health Inspection. Clinics and Nurses. Council on Aging. Veteran Services. Commission on Disabilities. Human Services. Falmouth Public Library. Cape Cod Regional Library. West Falmouth Library. Woods Hole Library. The Recreation Department. The Beach Department. The Bikeways Committee. Long-term excluded debt. Long-term unexcluded debt. Short-term excluded debt. Ms. Lichtenstein?
Leslie Lichtenstein, Precinct 8. I have a question. Many town meeting members received a printout of the change between the 06 and the 09 budget, showing the difference in the amount of interest paid on our debt. I have two questions. One is, our rainy day fund is now below 1 million. What does this do for our bonding rate and our ability to borrow? What does that mean when a borrowing entity looks at Falmouth when we want to do bonding? And second, why do we seem to have such a sudden increase in the amount of debt, and now all of a sudden it shows lower interest? I mean, like, we'd all like to pay less interest on our loans. Exactly how is the town accommodating this? Thank you.
Mr. Whitner.
Thank you for the question. The town has recently had its bond rating updated. We have a very high bond rating. It's a AA+. That is one notch short of a perfect AAA. By keeping control of the expenditures like we have in this budget reduction package down to the levels of revenues that we have, even in this changing environment, we will continue to keep the bond rating strong. I want to make that perfectly clear. What exactly is happening here is we are adjusting the budget to the reality of the revenues moving forward. That this action this evening will reflect extremely positively on our bond rating, and we still maintain the long-term goal of reaching that AAA. Town's financial systems that are in place are extremely high quality, and the bond rating does attest to that. And I know everyone is frustrated that we have to come back and reduce budgets if the revenues aren't performing as we had hoped. But that's part of the system that we do monitor things extremely closely, and we work very closely with the bond rating agencies for that purpose. We have the debt increases that we've seen in recent years. One of the largest projects that we've added on is the high school project that we continue to ramp into. It is a planned expense. We have some additional projects that we've taken on in recent years, and every one of the major projects we've taken on has been specifically voted to be exempted from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, and it's much needed infrastructure for our community, and it doesn't impact the budget in a negative way. Now, the reason that we're able to reduce the budget numbers for the short-term excluded debt is because one of the few bright spots in this terrible economy is that interest rates are down, and we're able to borrow those funds for far less than we anticipated a year ago when we established the budget figures. So that translates into the ability to reduce the amount that we're raising in that amount, which will directly reduce the tax rate.
Short-term unexcluded debt. Retirement. Unemployment. Nope. Stabilization, there's no number there. Okay.
Leonard Johnson, Precinct 5. We have spent the Band-Aid approach, have depleted our free cash, and we've depleted the stabilization fund. I would hope that in the budget we look at in April that we start putting money back into the stabilization fund. It's not prudent to spend your reserves to zero.
Okay. Anything else on stabilization? Retirement. Oh, Ms. Lichtenstein? Is it stabilization or retirement? Okay, microphone down here. If you could stand so she knows where to go so we can get this meeting rolling here.
$5,600 earlier this evening. We have to put it somewhere.
There's two ways to do this. You can either put it somewhere or you can reduce the revenue projection.
I vote that I move that we put it in the stabilization fund. It's time we started putting something back in the piggy bank instead of taking it all out.
36 was the change. Okay. So $3,600. There's a motion here to put it into stabilization. No, there was already two there, so you had the new, quote, new money is $3,600 of the $5,600. That's why Joe was going to put $3,000 for shellfish. No, you don't have $600 because we didn't put the money into the shellfish lineup. Did I have somebody asking a question over here? I was getting a distraction from the board. Does anyone want to talk to me? No? Okay. Is there any further discussion on adding that amount into stabilization? This requires a 2/3 vote because it's to put money into stabilization. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. It's the opinion of the chairs that the ayes have it by a 2/3 majority. I so declare. Yes, 2/3. 3,600, yeah. Any further discussion on stabilization? Retirement. Yep.
Bill Murphy, Precinct 3. Mr. Moderator, through you, do we have any surprises coming down the pike as far as our retirement program? Have we funded this thing, or do we have any problems coming down?
Mr. Whitner.
We are going to see increases in the retirement system appropriation, probably in the $300,000 range over the next several years. The big news with retirement is that, thank God, the financial markets have shown tremendous resilience in picking up a great deal of the losses, although even with the stock markets down 30-35% because of our investments, the retirement system only lost in the 12% range, and we're rapidly gaining that back. So no, I do not anticipate any terrible surprises there.
Okay. Any further discussion on retirement? Unemployment? Health insurance? Life insurance? Medicare benefits? Other employees' benefits? Court judgments? Yeah. Mr. Herbst?
Ralph, for Precinct 8. Obviously, everybody's aware of the recent court judgment concerning the school situation. Can you please tell us, is the town self-insured in this matter? And if not, then where will the money come from? Should we have to pay the architect?
Mr. Moderator.
Madam Chairman.
The town is not self-insured on this matter. And as I made a statement at the very beginning of town meeting, the town officials that include the Finance Committee Chairman, the Chair of the Board of Selectmen, the school superintendent, the chair of the school building committee, the town council, the director of assessing, we are looking at this, at our options. And we are working to develop a strategy for how we're going to deal with this. This process will be transparent. I stated that at the selectmen's meeting last night. The school building committee is meeting this week. We have determined that these costs, the costs related to this judgment are in fact project-related costs. But the Board of Selectmen will be meeting with the school building committee on Monday with their attorneys, and we're going to be looking at all of our options, not only in terms of whether an appeal might be appropriate or not, but how, if we choose to pay this judgment, how we will do it. And we will keep you informed all along the way of what our strategies are in relation to realizing our responsibility on this.
All set with the legal questions? Go ahead. Microphone down here.
Bob Young, Precinct 5. I understand what you said, Pat, earlier, and just now, my question to either Bob Ritenour or Mr. Duffy, through you, Mr. Moderator, when we had gone over legal department expenses, Mrs. Putnam asked about the special counsel, and that was $50,000. Are there extra legal expenses because of this school judgment from our outside counsels that are not included in this? It could be a surprise from this judgment, aside from the $2 million settlement?
Mr. Duffy?
All of the legal costs associated with the ARCAD lawsuit are handled through the high school project budget. There's nothing here before you tonight about it.
All right, any questions on the revenue, the last page of the budget? Hearing none, then the motion will come on the reductions to the budget as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Article 5. Article 5, to see if the selectmen will appoint an independent auditor to audit the DPW for waste, fraud, and abuse not exclusive of the $1.9 million debt exclusion of 2008. The recommendation of the Board of Selectmen is indefinite postponement. Positive motion. Mr. Finneran, you have the floor. Place positive motion as printed.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, town meeting members, this is Article 5 is as written. See if the selectmen will appoint an independent auditor for the DPW for waste, fraud, and abuse, not exclusive of the $1.9 million debt exclusion of 2008. First off, I not only think that this department should be audited, I think most departments should. I mean, this town is a $100 million corporation.
Yes, as printed.
Yeah. This town's a $100 million corporation. I mean, to audit a $30 million division of any corporation shouldn't even raise an eyebrow. It should be common practice. It should be policy. And further above and beyond that, this town doesn't even have a town-wide purchasing order system, which obviously they should have. Can I have the next slide, please? Obviously, everybody knows what that is. In the end of last year, the selectmen debated whether to audit the high school. And the debate lasted a while, but they determined that the fact that it was in litigation, that yeah, that's, well, okay. Okay. Well, that's too bad. It should have been done. Okay. All right. Pretty much anything you know about, or at least voters, taxpayers, or whatever people have done, what they know about this, they probably read in the Enterprise. And basically, the editorial in the Enterprise was wrong in every detail. I mean, he started with a list of complaints that I supposedly had about the DPW. I've never met the man, and he's never spoken with me. I never said anything about what's maroon and sleeps for. I mean, obviously, if there is a truck out there or town workers out there that are sleeping on the job or whatever, it's not their fault. It's the fault of their superiors. Okay. They also mentioned in the fact that if I was aware of the matrix study, yes, I have. Actually, I have my notes written on the back of the conclusions. Also, it said that this petition was submitted with 10 signatures. That's totally incorrect. I actually submitted 138 signatures, 137 which were verified. There was actually one sheet left behind that was almost completely full, so it would have been closer to 200. I mean, the window to get one of these petitions is only 48 hours, so that's a fairly difficult process. Next slide, please. This is the recommendation that, or what became of the recommendation after it was edited by the Board of Selectmen. I believe this was written by Ms. Harper, or that's what I was told anyway. It says that the town annually engages an independent auditor to conduct an audit, which is true. It's simply a process audit. It's basically like balancing your checkbook. It doesn't investigate very deeply. It says also that the town may study and evaluate internal systems of all divisions. It says may, or they may not. I mean, if this passes, then they will, and this is as good a way to do it as any. It says further that if I found anything wrong, that I should report it to the concerns to the town, the police department, the inspector general. I believe that's what I'm doing in putting the petitioner article in, so reporting it to the town. Also mentions that I didn't mention a funding source. The DPW has, if anybody's noticed recently, they've pinstriped 3 or 4 of their vehicles with plans to pinstripe all of them. If those plans were canceled, that would go a long way to paying for this audit. And the audit that is conducted every year, the process audit, this audit, is my understanding, I just acquired it. I actually haven't read through it, but it's my understanding that for the past number of years, this audit has recommended audits in the town for waste, fraud, and abuse. So this petition not only comes from myself and the well over 100 other residents and taxpayers, it's also recommended in this audit. Next page, please, or next slide. Another thing I found confusing, I've been to many of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meetings, especially when the issue of privatizing or giving away the dump was there. In the time I was there, I saw 2, maybe 3 sets of books for the dump and the transfer station and such. One of these sets of books had charged to the dump like 1/3 of the affirmative action budget, and it came up with a loss of $249,000 on that particular one. Another one of the budgets had the loss at only $79,000. I want to know how you got a budget that's losing somewhere between $79,000 and $249,000, and you're supposed to take another $249,000 out of it. That doesn't really seem to make any sense to me. Next slide, please. Here's a water tower we discussed last night. Built by the DPW and obviously built incorrectly. At one of the many meetings at the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, Mr. Jack told us that one of the worst mistakes he made in his professional life was allowing the residents of Falmouth to choose the color of that tower.
No, we're not going to call the question. Let's let his presentation go. This is a petitioner. Let's let him make his petition, and then we'll have discussion if there's any, and we'll vote. Mr. Finneran has the floor.
Anyway, Mr. Jack said that the worst mistake of his professional life was allowing the residents of Falmouth to choose the color of that water tower. I beg to differ with him. Last night, Mr. Jack said, relative to the water tower and its construction, that the cost of perfection was too high. I think you can put legs on the tower easier than you can put legs on that excuse. The tower was built too low. That's what we get with a $5 million investment. We have a $500 million investment coming up with sewage treatment and such through the same department. If that's what we get for $5 million, I'd be scared at what we get for $500 million. Next slide, please. And DPW debt exclusion was voted in last year. I suggest that anyone who's not been to that building, or anyone in the public who's not been to that building, that they should go down and tour the offices upstairs. They're quite lavish digs. I don't know if that was in the budget or not. Next slide, please. In the debt exclusion last year, there was money to fix the dump, the waste management facility, or whatever. As you can see by these pictures, there's a serious problem with erosion. The place is falling apart. You can see the walls are starting to tip over. They have to occasionally push them back in with a bucket loader. That $200,000 was supposed to be spent on that dump. This is the same dump that Mr. Jack told us can make money in a heartbeat. I haven't seen any work done on the dump. I don't know where the $200,000 went, and I don't see any money being made. Period. That's it. It's not happening. And I'd like to know where the money went. Next slide, please. That is the bottom of the budget sheet we had. I mean, with the 2.2 million or whatever we cut, if we get through it tonight, we'll have a balance of zero. And then, of course, as I noted there, we're back 2 million in the hole from the high school, although it does come from different places. What do we got here?
Okay, we ready to?
If we're going to be back here again, obviously we are. We're going to be hacking and slashing and cutting budgets, maybe cutting budgets that don't deserve to be cut. When there's money out there that's being wasted, it's not only my opinion, it's not only the opinion of the petitioners, but it was the conclusion of the audit. And I just think that this should be done. We got to get a handle on what's going on with the money here. And obviously we have some problems. This is the best way to find out the problems. And it's the best way to start on a solution. And I think that if we don't, we're just kidding ourselves and kicking the can further down the road. Thank you very much.
Okay, discussion on Article 5. Mr. McConerty, microphone in the back there.
Good evening, Peter McConerty, Acting Town Engineer. I do not have any comments on the last presentation. I would say that the DPW, if there is an audit and it is approved by town meeting, DPW is all for it to do that. The one request we do have, though, if it is approved, funding source can be brought from outside sources other than town funds, as we can see tonight what we're going through. One question I did want to bring up is the waste management facility. The waste management facility is still on contract and it is still under for reconstruction. We've been working out there in the last month, and in the coming months you'll see the DPW out there working to do some repairs. It's not as easy just to have the town, and it's not just the town's decision, to go in and do repairs at the waste management facility. What happens is we're working with a design engineer who is the liaison for the town with Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. We have to go through that designer as our liaison with the DEP to work with erosion control and to work with other areas up there that are going to be adjusted. So you will be seeing some areas up there that will be worked on in the coming year. Other than that, I don't have any comments for the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on Article 5? Okay, hearing none, then the question will come on the main motion as printed. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. No. It's the opinion of the chair that the noes have it by a majority. Article 6, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Moderator, I move that all articles approved at this town meeting be funded as voted for a total of $1,058,977.35, and further to reduce the fiscal year 2010 operating budget by $2,317,127.
Okay, you've all heard the main motion to reduce the budget by $2,317,127 for a new total sum of $1,058,977.35. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous. I want to remind all town meeting members that our next annual town meeting will be November the 9th. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moderator, I move the September 2009 special town meeting be closed.
You've all heard the main motion to close this meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous, and we are dissolved.
Allenby Tree Movers and Tree Farms. 4 generations of experience. An inventory of more than 30,000 mature trees. A fleet of 8 different tree spades. The capability to move trees up to 40 feet tall. With projects all over New England and New York, Allenby Tree Movers and Tree Farms is family owned and operated right here in Falmouth. For more information, you can visit them on their website at allenbytree.com. Their phone number, 866-ALLENBY.
Nestled in a classic New England setting amid 200-year-old elm trees and charming colonial homes, stately sea captains' homes, and charming Cape Cod salt boxes, Shoreway Acres is a graceful blend of Cape Cod's past and present. Shoreway Acres, proud sponsor of Falmouth Community Television.
Hello, I'm Joe Bento, the owner of Falmouth Chimney Sweep for over 28 years. All my sweeps are certified by the Chimney Safety Institute of America. And I'm here to tell you that the best insurance you can buy is to have your chimney and dry vent swept.
And I'm Chris Pedrica, the newest certified sweep at Falmouth Chimney. And we can handle any chimney problem you might have. So check us out at the website, falmouthchimney.com. And remember, we want to be your sweep for life.
Non pensare a me, continua pure la tua strada senza mai pensare a me. Tanto cosa vuoi, ci starà solo il frente fra noi.
Bellagio, a great place to mangia. Main Street, Falmouth.
The Falmouth Chamber of Commerce is dedicated to ensuring the economic vitality of its member businesses. We seek to promote a supportive, innovative, and successful business environment. Member benefits include marketing and advertising opportunities, business referrals, medical and dental insurance, business after hours, new member receptions, comfortable network activities, and more. We exist to promote you and to help you prosper. The Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, serving Falmouth since 1914.
Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging is nestled in a woodland setting on a picturesque ocean inlet. Green Harbor offers so much for a fun-filled yet affordable family waterfront vacation. Enjoy our private boating beach